So who has the better vault? Is it McKayla or is it Simone? I think the answer is. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you do not know me, my name is Bray. I am a former gymnast, elite and All-American, and I am currently a gymnastics coach and judge. And today I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison of McKayla Maroney's Amanar vault along with Simone Biles' Amanar vault. Now, I was told in my comments from my Simone Biles video and from my McKayla video that we wanted to do a side-by-side comparison, so that's what I'm going to do today. Let's go ahead and jump into the video. Let's break down piece by piece, and at the end, I'm going to give my opinion who I think has the better Amanar vault. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this first part of the video. I found these videos off of another channel, and I'm going to put them down below so you just to give them some credit and so you guys can see their channel and their video, help them with some views, help them with their video, because they put 3 of the best vaults from Simone and Amanar and the 3 best vaults from McKayla and their Amanar, and they put it together, and I think it was a really great video and a genius idea, and it made my job easier to be able to kind of pick out what vaults I wanted to show and compare. So right now, let's go through and watch Simone's vaults. This was back in 2015. Absolutely crazy. So good. Like, no doubt that it's a phenomenal vault. I think this was a world championship practice in 2015 as well. And then this, I believe, was from 2019. Okay. And then this one is McKayla. This was 2010 visas. So crazy. I qualified to that visas, actually. And then this is her, obviously, at the Olympics. This is the legendary Amanar vault. Just impeccable. Jaw still on the floor. 2013 Worlds. Awesome. Beautiful. Okay. So now we're going to get to some comparison parts. And I want to make note, they're very similar in their run. Obviously, let's go back to one of the vaults of Simone and watch her run. Here, it's very fast. And this isn't even at her strongest. Now she runs 10 times as fast. And then we move on to McKayla's run. And it's, again, the same thing, just full speed to that vault. So their runs are going to be similar. Now I want to go and compare the most important part of the vault, one of the most important parts, I guess I should say, is right here at the entry. So you'll notice how McKayla looks here in her entry versus Simone. Honestly, from a coach's perspective, I really encourage my kids to look like Simone. The way that she's entering the vault table, you can see her shoulders are open, so are McKayla's, but the biggest difference for me is where their feet are at. I prefer where Simone's feet are located because I think it's just going to be better for them to get up into that vertical versus McKayla, as she's coming on the way up, her feet are kind of up slightly. And she knows that once she hits the table, she's tight enough to where this isn't going to maybe hurt her as much. She could do it better, of course, and that's what she does in the Olympics. She leaves her feet down a little bit better, and so she's able to get a little bit better of a height. But so far in this entry, and at least in just these 2 vaults, and again, every vault's going to differ, but at these 2 vaults that I picked, I would prefer Simone's entry over McKayla. However, as we keep going, and we go to, this was the best comparison that I could get side by side for the height. I do not know the height of Simone's vault table, and I don't know the height of McKayla's vault table, so that will matter. But let's just keep it relative to where their feet are versus the top of the table. And that will be pretty relative still to their own height. So as you can see where Simone's feet are compared to the vault table and where McKayla's feet are compared to the vault table. Now, this is not obviously, I think, super accurate, but this is the most kind of consistent way I feel like I could compare the height. I went ahead and used my little graph lines, I guess you call them, to measure from the vault table up to the feet, as you can see. And if you count on Simone's side, there's 10 little marks right before that horizontal mark. And then on McKayla's, it would be 11. So to me, McKayla has always gotten a better height than Simone, and that's what I want to show in their next vault. So I think McKayla does get better height than Simone, and I think that's why her vault may look a little bit, to a gymnast, effortless on McKayla's side, just because it floats versus Simone's. But it's so hard for me to even say that because Simone's is so good, and it does have its own floatiness to it. But I'll show y'all what I mean in the next video. or in the next video I show, but as you can see here, McKayla gets a higher block than Simone. So going now to the next video in the side-by-side. I'll play this in regular motion, and then I'll play it in slow motion, and then we're going to break it down. So you can, I don't know if y'all can tell just to your naked eye, but just compare just the height that you can see in McKayla's. It seems like McKayla's goes up in a vertical more versus Simone's. So right here, as they hit the table, see, this one is what I'm talking about. This is why McKayla's vault was better at the Olympics, because I think she did a better job at leaving her feet down on the board, and it made that vault go straight up. The difference is between McKayla and Simone is as soon as McKayla hits the table, she's picking those feet up ready to flip, and that could have been where I screenshotted that last screenshot where I was saying it wasn't as good as this one. I could have just probably stopped it at the wrong time, because now you can see her feet are in fact coming up, but I still think this vault was better than the one in her in the yellow leotard. But the difference between Simone and McKayla, and why I think McKayla's goes up so much higher, is because of this entry. How McKayla is hitting and where her feet are versus Simone's. Like, McKayla is already blocking essentially. So look at her. Like, do you see where her feet are? Her feet are already coming up, and Simone's kind of still leaving her feet down. And you can even tell with McKayla's shoulder angle, it's kind of just like a straight, stiff board, locked out type of angle. And so is Simone's, but there's still a little bit of shoulder angle I see in Simone's, and that could just be because her ribs are sticking out a little bit more. Like, she's a little bit more arched than McKayla, as you can see. But what this does is, notice how as McKayla blocks, she's already starting to lift off the table. And you can just see how she's a little bit more patient starting the twist. And this could just be a little bit of a video timing issue, honestly, that I'm seeing. I'm trying to break it down individually and kind of compare. Yeah, I definitely, what I noticed that kind of differs is as they're starting their block and their twist, McKayla's armpit is still kind of open, and Simone's looks a little closed, which could take away some height. But I feel like whenever McKayla blocks, she leaves those feet up and she kind of twists at her feet, versus Simone, her feet come up, and then watch as she pulls her feet down. Notice how her feet are going down, but McKayla's are still up. I think that's a pretty good visual. Of course, Simone's are still up. Like, they're going to have to be for her to make this vault. But I'm hoping you can see kind of what I'm trying to compare is McKayla does seem like she's more of a slanted angle because her feet are higher, whereas Simone is kind of, that angle is kind of lowering down, if that makes sense. And I think that's why McKayla's able to go up higher. I mean, you can see it right here in their hips. As McKayla blocks off the table, notice how flat her hips stay, including her ribs. And Simone gets a little, she kind of starts twisting her upper body before the rest of her body. Or at least she just does it in an arch, whereas McKayla kind of stays more stiff. And I think that's what helps her get that trajectory a little bit better than Simone. So Simone's is not only going up, but she's going more out than McKayla, which is great. We have to have height and distance. But I think in terms of just like, nice. I think in the terms of just like being dynamic and explosive, McKayla's looks a little bit more explosive because it goes up a little bit higher. And also it could kind of be an optical illusion because McKayla is a little bit taller than Simone. So her body length might make it look as if she is going higher, but really she's just taller, if that makes sense. That's why I try to do the comparison on the vault. I genuinely do think McKayla's is higher than Simone, but it's not by much. But of course, it might look a lot different just because I think McKayla is like 5'1" and Simone's like 4'10". So there's a height difference there, and it's going to kind of cause an optical illusion on the height part. But going back to see kind of McKayla's body shape, she's like straight up and down versus Simone's a little bit twisted. This could also be the angle of which you can tell they're at two different angles, but I don't think that that's the reason, but of course it always could be. But you can see McKayla just skyrockets straight up versus, again, Simone gets a little bit more distance from the vault. Like, you can still see McKayla's vault. You can't see Simone's vault because Simone gets a very, like, look, see the vault, and we're keep going, and that's where Simone lands versus McKayla. She does get good distance, but her height is so good that she's not going to get as far as a distance as Simone. So I think that's, the biggest difference for me is McKayla gets a little bit more height in her body shape in the air. Like, her hollow looks better to me. But again, not by much. Like, it's asking me to compare, 2.5 inches versus 2 3/4 inches. Like, they're so close together. I can't, but we know there's a difference between 2.5 inches and 2 3/4 inch. Like, obviously one is longer than the other, but they're so similar that when you just look at it to the naked eye, you'd be like, yeah, that's like 2.5 inches, or that's 2 3/4. Like, you're really not going to be right super picky if that's comparisons making sense. So that's how I feel comparing these vaults. Like, they're both so phenomenal. They're both so technically good. They're just a little different. One goes longer than the other and one goes higher than the other. So I honestly think it comes down to a personal preference of what you think a better vault might look like. To me, it's more appealing to my eye when I see a vault go straight up. That's why Simone's Yurchenko double pike is astonishing to watch, because she really does go straight up. Versus when I'm watching McKayla versus Simone's Amanar, McKayla's goes a little bit higher and Simone's goes a little bit longer. So as I'm watching it, I see more explosion, like, going up out of McKayla. So to me, that catches my eye more than Simone's, because she's not only just going up, but she's also going out. So I'm hoping that comparison makes sense. But again, I'm trying to compare two phenomenal people, but that's besides the point, but phenomenal gymnast. And it's really hard to do because, like, I hate sitting here and criticizing these vaults because they're so good. I am just trying to give where I stand, why I think one vault might be better than the others. But honestly, watching this vault, it's a really close call for me. But I think based off of, again, the height and the control, which I can't even say that. They're both so controlled. So I only have the height to base this off of. And to me, that's why I think McKayla's is a little bit better than Simone. I could be wrong on the scoring, but I don't think Simone's ever scored as high as McKayla has. McKayla's on this Amanar. McKayla's gotten a 16.233 on this vault. I don't know what Simone has gotten. So if somebody wants to fact check me and put that in the comments, please do, because I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know where to go look that up. Like, I've tried to look it up and I just might be looking in the wrong spot. But I don't think Simone's ever scored a 16.233 or higher on the Yurchenko Amanar. So I'm interested to see if that's in fact, the case, because if it is, it kind of proves my point that I think McKayla has the better vault in the Amanar sense. But again, where I would score, McKayla might be at a 16.233. Simone might be at a 16.1. Like, again, it's this much of a difference. You're not going to deny that both these vaults are phenomenal. And it's really hard to compare them. But again, just based off my professional insight and what's more appeasing to the eye from a judge's perspective of the vault as a whole, I think when McKayla gets a little bit more height than Simone, it makes the judging feel a little bit different. And I don't know how to explain it. It's just, you see this vault go straight up and you see the height that it gets, versus Simone, she gets great height, but again, she gets that distance as well. So it just looks better to see the vault go a little bit higher than it would maybe lengthwise. But again, really hard to compare these two vaults because they're so good. But in my opinion, I think McKayla has the better Amanar. Everything else, Simone has better. Obviously, she has a better Yurchenko double pike. She has the better half on, 1.5 off. I believe it's the Chang vault. I always say that wrong, but I think it's the Chang vault. So sorry if I'm butchering that. But she has the better tumbling than McKayla. McKayla was phenomenal, though. McKayla was really good on everything, but she was a powerhouse for sure. Just like Simone, very good at vault and bar or vault and floor. McKayla had like a very good. Did McKayla do a quad or a triple? I don't know. She did a lot of, oh no, she did a triple and a half, I think. And it was always so good. Like Simone's not a big twister, as you can tell. McKayla wasn't a huge flipper. Like, she didn't do all of these double layouts, double backs, whatever. McKayla did a lot of twisting. And I don't want to knock on McKayla's tumbling, but again, if you would have to compare and talk about technique and kind of all the tricks you have in your basket, Simone's gonna have the better vault in general, and she's gonna have the better floor in general, because McKayla's one vault she rode on was that Amanar. Simone can ride on 3 different vaults. She has the Chang, she has the Amanar, and then she has her Biles, the Yurchenko double pike vault. So she's got a lot more tricks in her basket for sure, which is why why Simone is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best gymnast to ever live, because she has so many tricks up her sleeve. But again, she does fault, right? She's not perfect. And I think people forget she's not perfect. And sometimes that can keep us from giving her credit where it's due, because we just see her as this phenomenal person who can never make mistakes and she's always going to do it, blah, blah. But people forget that she works really hard, and she has trials and tribulations just like all of us. And she has things that she has to work through to be the phenomenal athlete that she is. And it doesn't come so easy to her. Like, yes, she is the most talented gymnast I've ever seen in my life, of an obvious God-given talent that she has. But you know what? Talent it's only going to get you so far. She has had to work so incredibly hard her whole life. She started gymnastics later than normal gymnasts do. You know, she has a past with the whole Larry situation. Like, the girl's been through it. And she is where she is today because of all the hard work that she has done. That's where all of those gymnasts got to where they were at, in spite of everything that they had to go through. And it all came from grit, determination, and hard work. And of course, the talent helps you out. So that's why Simone is always going to be the greatest gymnast ever, because she has the most tricks in her basket, and she does them very well. And it's all been very well deserved because she's worked extremely hard. But in this instance specifically, I think McKayla has a better Amanar than Simone. And again, that's just how I feel based off her height of the vault, because everything else is the same. Their form is impeccable. Their landing is impeccable. Their block is impeccable. The only difference is I think McKayla goes higher. So that's why I think she has a little bit better of a vault. But again, it's not by much. All right, you guys, thanks for watching. Go ahead and give me your opinion down below. Who do you think has the better Amanar vault? Again, this is all opinion based, but try to make sure your opinions for their vault is around gymnastics. If you know anything about gymnastics, kind of how I did. Like, I used the fact that she had a higher vault, which was my reasoning why she had a better vault. We don't have to agree, of course. That's totally fine. I'm just interested in everybody's perspective, why you think Simone has the better vault, or why you think McKayla has the better vault. Because at the end of the day, when we're all talking about the things that we see, it educates all of us a little bit more, and we're able to see it from everyone's perspective. And who knows, we might end up changing our mind. So go ahead and comment below who you think has the better Amanar vault, and let me know other videos that you guys would like me to break down. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to everyone that's subscribed to my new channel. You guys have helped me out so much on my channel with my views and stuff, and I cannot believe my last video is close to 100,000 views. That's absolutely insane. I never thought I'd have a video on YouTube that ever got that many views. So I'm like super giddy and excited, and I've done a lot of content creation, so it's really nice to see that work get paid off, and of course be appreciative of the sport that I'm in and the sport that I'm involved in, and of course putting appreciation where it's deserved, and that's on Simone, and of course now McKayla, and all the girls that we watch on TV while we sit on our butts on the couch, and they do all of this amazing work and represent our country with great honor. So it's really cool for me to see people appreciate them in our sport. Again, thank you guys so much for supporting me. Subscribe if you're not, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.